Good morning. Thank you for joining me, whether you're live or on record. As ever, if you're live, your questions take priority over whatever else I'm going to talk about, which today is session 7 in my interventions with children aged 9 to 11 post-COVID, mixed groups of children with all sorts of issues with maths. Of course, we've got the children who just weren't able to learn during lockdown, and children with all sorts of gaps in their knowledge before that, and all sorts of special education needs as well. So this week we started to work on fractions. That was our focus. So I had my pizza fraction fun parts by learning resources that I use in a lot of these videos. Sadly, I haven't got them today because they're in school. But I did do a lot of doodling as well. I'm just looking at the light there. That's very bright. That's better to see. So what we're clearly trying to do, and I had all the children working with whiteboards, naming fractions, drawing fractions, working with the actual fractional parts. Hi, if you're joining now, please say hello. Please ask any questions you've got. So can they see that that is 2/5? Do they understand why? And some of them could, so we could move on quite quickly. And some of them just couldn't. Just got a message in saying it's 2 years since schools closed for COVID today. Wow. So do they understand that the denominator tells you how many pieces the fraction, the whole was broken into, and the numerator tells you how many of those pieces you've got? By this time we're frying some brains. Do they know that as the denominator gets bigger, the parts get smaller? It's a big idea for some children. I had one who just couldn't cope with that at all. So we had to come back to it again and again through the session. Do they understand mixed numbers? So can they label, say, that, if that's a third, as 2 1/3, and also as 7/3? Most groups got that far. By this stage, some of them were really beginning to fall apart. So we were naming fractions, we were moving concrete objects, because when children are struggling with ideas, if you do it as a concrete and a visual, there's much more chance that when they go away, it'll come into focus overnight, over a few days. And sometimes my children come back to my sessions knowing more than they did when they left, because it's concrete and visual and structural and deep, and is challenging all those niggly bits in their understanding of maths. For the groups that were coping okay with that, and if they were really brain fried by the time we'd done that, we didn't do this. We went on to fractions of amounts, and I had this worksheet here. It's just, and I'll put this in the Expert Primary Maths Teaching Facebook group if you want to download it. But we start just with small fractions, simple fractions of small amounts. So we would build that with the pizza parts or draw it on a board. That's 3/5 of 15, 3/5. Sorry, not the greatest drawing, but we did talk about all the parts needing to be equal. We go with our 15 blocks and deal them out fairly. Hi. And like this, and then we would see that 1/5 was 3, and then we'd try and understand that 3/5 were 9. And once we'd done a couple of those and they were happy with it, I'd get them working on the exercise, and we would also try to shift across to a bar model drawing. So we draw a bar with 5 squares in, so it's really easy to see the 3/5, and again deal out the 15 objects just with dots, getting them doodling by this stage, owning this method, so hopefully they can do it when I'm not there, and they can see there that 3/5 of 15 is 9. Just see it. And the children who were flying most were the ones who, as they went through this, it started to come into focus. They could just see what they were doing. They could start to predict the answers. They could start to narrate their own method. This one, 9/10 of 40, is quite nice, because children start to see there's going to be 4 in each tenth, and then see the 36 without having to do the drawing. And then we have some larger number questions, and some children were doing these with blocks. But most were pretty brain fried by this stage. If children had maxed out on what they could do with fractions, then we were returning to their core numeracy. I've got all sorts of notes from previous sessions, so I know where their gaps and struggles are, and I would help them do something that would really zone in on that. And the change of activity really helps. And of course, we have lots of breaks too. When children have just maxed out, give them a pop-it, just let them have some chill down time while I work with some other students and rotate it all through. I've got some groups where all children are working on different activities tailored to them, and we just take turns to work with me. I'd go right round the room very quickly, keeping each child on track, making sure they're understanding. Now, one other thing I've been doing this week is I've really come to understand that these children have not used money. So I'm in the UK, so I've been using this British pocket money bingo with British currency. It's just a great fun spinner game by Learning Resources. I've been tucking it in wherever I can. They spin the wheel and they have to get the right coin and put it on their board and try and make lines. And then we have this version called Charity Shop Bingo. Well, it's called Pocket Money Bingo, but who gets pocket money anymore? I mean, these kids are just using cards and they've barely been shopping. It's only a handful of really used money. It's a very scary change of maths. So they spin the wheel, they add together the two coins that the arrow is pointing at. If they've got that amount of money, they can buy that thing. And it's a classic reminder of how games really work, because they're so desperate to be able to do the maths. They just want to be able to do it because it's such fun. We really, really love this. We've had loads and loads of fun. And they have to find the coins. Oops, just dropped them. Find the coins, get the right coins that the spinner's landed on, and put them on this. So we're getting them familiar with money just very quickly. Just note to self, when a child sees 10 pence and a 20 pence, if they've been shopping a lot, they instantly know it's 30 pence. My children haven't been shopping, so they've got to calculate that. And there's a change in their understanding of maths that's related to all these facts relating to money that children used to just be able to see. So that's going to be interesting to look at in the future. Loads of other stuff going on as well, but I'm away from home today, you might be able to tell. And so I'm going to get on and do a few other things and hopefully do another video maybe tomorrow, fingers crossed. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, post them. Please do post them in the comments to the YouTube or in the threads on Facebook where this is shared, or just get in touch. It'd be lovely to chat. Bye for now.